And welcome back. Thank you for watching. Here I have a tree stump. I think it's a sugar maple, I'm not quite sure. I got it from my friend's house. He was using it to possibly make a bunch of stools. This was one of several cuts. You'll notice later in the video that it has holes in the bottom for where it was potentially going to get legs. And I saw them in his driveway and he said I could take one to play with. And I'm using here this carving wheel on the angle grinder, and it removes a lot of material really quickly, but the problem is this piece of wood is slightly rotted, so you have a lot of that spalting in there, and because the wood is slightly rotted, the fibers are really soft and they're kind of breaking off, and I'm not getting a clean cut. So then I transfer over to this sanding disc, just a roto sanding disc, and I'm able to kind of cut down past those broken fibers. You can see them there a little bit there, kind of like right where I'm working now. The fibers are just kind of broken off. Yeah, there you go. And I was able to sand past all that, and here I am. I was able to get deep enough, and I wanted a nice smooth little well in that, because this is going to be a stool. And breaking off all the bark there with my little, I think that axe is from Sweden. I bought it somewhere in the United States at a little knife shop, and just cutting the bark off. And this has been sitting outside for a long time, so it's got some bug work on it. You see the bug holes and a little bit of Mother Nature taking its course on there. A little bit of rot, a little bit of moisture. And I'm just using a wire brush on the angle grinder. So now I've used three tools on the angle grinder so far, just to work this stump. Now I go up to about 80 grit, and I'm just working it. I want to try and keep a sharp edge on that stump. So you see me just trying to maintain a sharp edge, just because I think it looks sexy. And just trying to work out as much of the tooling marks as I can. And now I know I'm going to make a steel base for this, but I want it to sit evenly in the steel base. So that's going to require me to make this parallel to the top. So I have the top facing down, and the bottom's facing up, and I give myself a mark. And there I am with the planing wheel again, just cutting that whole end grain surface level to that mark. And I did my best to create a dust collection system there, but it was nearly impossible. It's the type of work you need to do in open field. I corralled it a little bit with the cardboard, it helped. And now here I am, I'm flat, and I'm just hand sanding a little bit, just feeling it out, trying to get it to a nice smooth surface. And now I'm down to about 220. I really wanted this thing to look like it's been sat on for many years, like it's been well worn by fabric. And just working it and working, and the finer the grit, the more these colors come out. And that's water. I just put water on there to raise the grain a little bit. And also, water kind of gives you an indication of what you might expect to look like with finish on the wood. And now I'm going to make the three-legged steel base with 1-inch solid rod by 16 inches long. My measurement is between the blue tape there. I'm just free-cutting it with the bandsaw. This design is derivative of my spike table, which I had them both in my notes at the same time. And then the stump came into my life, and I was like, I might as well try it. And so there you go, I have my 3 chunks of steel, and now I'm laying out my triangle, which is going to basically become the frame that carries the log there. And you see the holes. I got this from my friend who intended on making a bunch of these, and so he had a whole pile of these cuts, and each one of them had been drilled. So I knew I wouldn't need those holes, so they're going to face down, you won't see them. And since my triangle is not an equilateral triangle, I had to cut each piece specific, which is why I marked them with blue tape, so I knew what went where. And now to the welding table, and I just tack up my triangle, just real loosely right now until I get it in the shape I want, and then I'll weld it a little bit heavier. Sometimes you have good welding days when you're not a professional, and sometimes you have bad welding days, and this wasn't a good one for me. It's kind of like when you have like a bad hair day. I just wasn't getting a good rhythm, and I couldn't get a good bead. So in this particular project, my beads are all a little bit sloppy, which is okay because I could fix them up with the grinder. when I realize my beads are not coming out sexy, I just go for strength. And maybe I just need more practice more often. That's all. I hadn't welded in a couple of weeks since when I got up to this project. And I used a 2-inch piece of maple there as a spacer to hold it up in the air. And what we have now are screw tabs. And these are going to be the tabs that are going to hold the stump to the bottom of this frame. And there you go. You can see them in place. So, and just doing a dry fit. There you go. I wanted the frame to kind of seem like a gem setting with those little prongs coming up. And now here I'm using just a brie wax. And I really love the look of this wood. It looks like petrified wood. If you've ever seen petrified wood, it really has these same tones. All this spalting and stuff. And I love the fact that it just looks like it's been worn for a long time. And there you go, I'm fixing up my welds. Right, and they'll be kind of in the shadow, so I'm not overly concerned. But again, I just want them to look even as much as I can get them. And as far as the steel finish goes, I just kind of grinded off a lot of the blackening there from it. This is hot rolled steel. And I just wanted to get off some of that blackened surface and show a little bit of the silver as a contrast to the tree slice. And now here I put it in place. And I realize it's a little off, so I maneuver it around. And there, I just put my screws in. And then I put it down, and I think I'm ready for my final shot. There you go. And then it's intended to be sat on, so it has a really nice scoop for your butt. It feels real comfortable. It's like a nice little concave surface there. And there you see the spike table in the background. Thank you for watching. There it is.